Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have another video, and today we're going to be talking about Madden 25, and to be completely and fair and honest, Madden 25 might be the worst of the bunch. Like, this is the least I've played Madden. Now, could that be because I'm playing College Football 25 a whole ton? That could be the case. Is it because I'm playing a lot of Rainbow Six Siege as well? That could definitely be the case as well. But this is definitely a Madden that I just am not excited to play for various amounts of reasons. You know, the time that I have put into the game, it just isn't a fun overall game. I'm not having fun myself. You know, when I sit down on Sundays to watch football, you know, when I turn on Red Zone and all that fun stuff, and I'm sitting there, I load up my PlayStation because I'm sitting at my desk and I have my PC and my phone running so I can watch the games. I'll load up my PlayStation, and every single week, I'll sit there and be like, do I want to play Madden or do I want to play, NCAA or college football? And I'm like, I'm going to play college football. I just feel like playing college football. It seems like a lot more fun right now. The gameplay just feels smoother. It feels like it has a lot less issues and stuff like that. But that's just the basic level of stuff, right? I think roster management this year just totally shows you how much of a shit show Madden is this year. It just shows that ratings are more of a popularity contest more than ever. You know, you have arguably the best corner in the league, Jalen Johnson, at an 89 overall. Like, and in a sport where players have one season wonders all the fucking time, why aren't people that are coming off of great seasons at higher overalls? Right? I don't think you can honestly understate how bad the ratings are. You know, teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles, who have started off super fucking slow and, have shown their weaknesses this year and continuously don't go far in the playoffs, especially the Cowboys, more or less, continuously have high overalls, whereas teams that are coming off a great year of success, overachieved, are somehow lower. And you can sit here and say, well, this team has, better overall talent. Individually, they're very good players. That doesn't matter. If they're not winning games, they shouldn't be a high overall. It's as simple as that. Rating disparity as well isn't good enough. Teams like the Giants and the Panthers and but rating disparity as well just isn't good enough. I think bad teams should be very bad and should be difficult to play with, and good teams should be very good. The Kansas City Chiefs should be one of the highest rated teams every single year, especially over the last couple years. And bad teams shouldn't be 80 overalls, whereas some of the best teams are 88s. I think there needs to be more roster disparity and rating disparity between good, great, okay, and bad teams. That's just my personal opinion anyway. Of course, for the gazillionth year in a row, we still aren't able to change players on the roster management section either. You have to exit the player just to see their overall. It doesn't even allow you while you're changing their ratings to see their overall, which makes changing ratings very hard. Especially if you're trying to do a complete custom roster. It makes it very tedious and very annoying to deal with. Still can't change age, dev trait, or contracts, or any of that fun stuff. I understand why they do it, because they're afraid if they put out a half-decent game that us roster developers, us roster creators, would create a good enough roster that people would want to play with and people wouldn't want to buy the next year's Madden. So I understand that. As well as with roster sharing, why the fuck did they change that? I have no idea. If you do not know, you can no longer overwrite your old roster share. So, you have to upload a new roster every single time, which means your downloads and likes aren't carried over like in previous Maddens, right? Last year, I could upload not the same roster, but if I did an update for the roster, I could upload it under the same name and it would continuously overwrite it so that all the downloads and likes would carry over and people could more easily find it. Now that is not the case, which means when I do roster updates for the off season and stuff like that, you're going to have to find a new one every single time I post one, which basically means every single week you're going to have to go find my new roster because of this system. It's completely fucked. It fucks over some of the top roster creators. I understand why they did it, right? They don't like us. I understand that, but it's just kind of annoying coming from a dude that, has had the top roster on PS5 the last 2 years and had the top roster on PS4 the 2 years before that. It's just really fucking annoying. It really goddamn is, because it just fucks me over and some of my content, as well as just, it is just annoying, right? Because now you're going to have to go look for it more often. You're going to only see, stuff that has been up on the share file destination for a long period of time. It's just really annoying. I still don't understand why we're not streamlining positions and having a position system and have playbooks determine how or who shows up on the field, right? I'm tired of seeing stand-up backers at edge and edges at DT or edges at stand-up backer. It's completely fucking ridiculous that they haven't figured out a way to fix this yet. My plan, and a lot of other people's plans that I've heard from, that would like to see a streamlined position change, is this. Just put all edge rushers at edge. Just call it edge rusher. Don't call it fucking outside backer. Don't call it defensive end. Just call it edge rusher, and then when you pick your playbook, it will determine what players go in what certain areas, okay? So you move all the edge rushers to edge rusher, okay? So that you'll have the TJ Watts and the Myles Garretts at the same positions, okay? And then you can do right edge and left edge, or you can just do edge in general. I don't give a fuck. You can do right edge, left edge. Then you go D tackle and nose tackle. Now, D tackle is the 3 tech. So if you have the D tackle in a 3-4, you'd have the top 2 at the depth chart in the D tackle position go onto the field when you're in a 3-4. If you are in a 4-3, only the number 1 D tackle would go onto the field, right? And then your nose tackle would be the guy that lines up in the A gap, basically over the center, in between the guard and the center, instead of the guard and the tackle, or heads up on the guard. This would create a lot more balance, and then you could do, I don't know what you do for backers, what you call them. I would just go Sam, Mike, and Will, or SB, MB, WB for the 3 backers, of course. And then if you're running a 4-3, that would have the 3 starting backers. If you're running a 3-4, of course, it'd go Sam and Mike, and then the rest would be, and then, of course, Will would be the 3rd backer in and stuff. You can do a lot of different stuff. I would change nickel, and this is another big change I would make for both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, is slots would have their own dedicated overall. I'm tired of seeing slot wide receivers being able to stay outside as an 80 overall and then move into the slot and still be an 80 overall, right? If their highest overall is slot, that should be their highest overall. But then if they slide outside, it should drop down to that lowest overall of outside receivers, right? So if they're an 81 slot, but they're a 76 deep threat, then when they move to the outside, they become a 76 overall. Same thing with corners. If they're an 82 overall, slot corner, when you move them outside, and if they're only a 79 man coverage corner, then they drop down and they regress in ratings, right? This would prevent a lot of cheese of being able to put your best receiver in the slot and then have him also as the number 1, because then it will decrease, their overalls and stuff. Now, of course, if you have a really good player that has 99 slot and 99 deep threat, or 99 slot and 99 physical, or 99 slot and 99 route running, of course, that would change a lot of what, it wouldn't change that player's outcome, right? Because if you don't know, in Madden simulation and college football simulation, you put your best receiver in the slot if you want the best success, right? You don't put the actual slot receiver in the slot, because then you will decrease your success. Like, if you want the Vikings to do really good in simulation, you put Justin Jefferson in the slot and let him fucking eat. If you're playing as the Bears and you're simming through games, put Keenan Allen in the slot, let him fucking eat. Slot receivers through Madden, through the last probably 5, 6, 7 years, whenever the slot receiver was introduced, when you put them in the slot, they eat like nobody else. So that's just some of the positional changes I would make. So I wouldn't make slot just as an add-on. It would be its own dedicated position, right? Slot corner, slot, or you could just call it nickel to better solidify who's playing there. If you're playing a safety there, of course, you could definitely call it nickel, and you could definitely just call it slot receiver on the offensive side of the ball. I definitely would do that. That would change a lot, and it would give greater positional value to your teams as well. And of course, the next thing we're going to talk about is, of course, franchise. It kind of sucks that some rules that are in the NFL just still haven't been updated. IR and practice squad rules still haven't been updated. IR still takes 8 to 9 weeks in franchise until you can return a player. Practice squad rules still haven't been changed. I think you can carry 16 in real life. I think they only allow us to carry 12, as well as it's based upon games played and stuff like that. And I think the rules of that have even been changed where you can basically have almost anybody on your practice squad at this point. I know it would lead to a lot of cheesy moments, but it would allow practice squads to be a lot more deep and it would also allow for a lot more players to still stay engaged with your team. And then, of course, calling players up still isn't a thing from your practice squad with injuries. I understand, that would be kind of hard to do, especially for people that turn off injuries. But it does suck that rules like that, when you're trying to create a realistic franchise and you want to play a realistic franchise, it sucks that the rules aren't there that could help benefit you and, create more entertainment for yourself. Gameplay just sucks. I'm going to be honest. The offensive line still sucks. It really does. Offensive line schemes and fits don't work at all. It almost feels like double teams are worse than single blocks, especially against non-superstar players. And then against superstar players, it seems like double teams work a little bit better, but then they'll work against regular players. Like, players with just star development seem to be able to beat double teams so easily, and then superstars for some reason don't, and it's opposite against single man blocks. Predetermined blocking assignments still suck. When it tells this player to go block this guy, if this guy, they'll only go after that guy. It's really fucking annoying. They'll leave their blocks early to go react to somebody else, and then they don't react to some defense players. They don't go after the first threat, and what the first threat basically is the first guy that's going to be able to tackle your guy, right? You don't go block the safety if the linebacker is going to be able to make the play on your guy. You block the fucking linebacker. I just don't understand how offensive lines haven't been fixed. I know Soft Drink TV has done a lot of work on it and shown that, it is completely predetermined. It does not change any way, shape, or form. And then especially when you go back to a game like NFL 2K5 or 2K8 or whatever, and they read and react, and stuff will change on a play-to-play difference. Even if you line up in the same formations and everything, players react differently every single play, and players can make their own decisions. Coverage is broken. Some of the best corners in the league just don't feel like they can even handle, rotational receivers, fourth or fifth guys on the depth chart, and let alone the upper echelon. Like, I can't, if we went to my Bears franchise I have right now, Caleb Williams threw for almost 6,000 yards in his rookie year on all Madden regular sliders. Keenan Allen and DJ Moore each had 84 receptions for over 1,300 yards. And then I still had Roma Dunze getting, I think, almost 900. Cole Kmet getting like 800. Gerald Everett still getting 200 or 300. It's fucking insane how many yards I put up. DeAndre Swift with a bunch as well. I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head or in front of me. But it just feels like coverage is completely garbage. Linebackers are garbage and useless like always. And it's still crazy to me that, I can be staring at the ball with one of my players. I could literally be in a passing lane trying to jump the route, and it won't let me trigger. The CPU can fucking make I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the CPU one day makes a back-flipping 360 fucking one-handed interception. I really wouldn't be. Because some of the interceptions I see off them are just fucking garbage. Catch rules, by the way, are fucking broken. I literally have a video clip of Justin Jefferson going up into the air, catching a football, and Jalen Johnson comes over and hits him in his legs while he's in the air, and he falls out of bounds, basically. The only thing that touches him bounds, and I mean the only fucking thing that touches him bounds, is his elbow when he's going down to the ground. So his elbow hits the ground, and then his back hits out of bounds, and they still counted a catch. I challenged it, and then they still counted it as a catch, and then I wasn't allowed to view replay because they don't want shit like that to be seen. It's so fucking annoying how bad catch rules are. There's times, even in College Football 25, where it'll be an NFL level catch. And I'll be like, how the fuck is that not a catch? And I'll challenge it, and they just don't want to admit their mistake. And then there's times in Madden where I'm like, that's not even a fucking college football catch, and you're counting it. It's absolutely fucking insane just how bad the catching rules are. I don't know if it's because, they're using the same system or whatever. Sometimes the catching rules are just so bad in this, and they just don't understand just how bad they are. Having to change sliders in franchise just to play certain teams is kind of fucking annoying, right? Having to go change sliders so I can play the Chiefs at a realistic level, and then having to go change the sliders in the complete opposite direction to go play a team like the Giants or the Panthers is just really fucking annoying. I shouldn't have to be doing that to make my game fun. All Madden just cheats out of its ass this year. Completely. I know it was bad in the past where, the biggest example was always if you pin the the CPU. Like, it was almost worse to pin the CPU inside their own 5-yard line than to punt the ball out at like the 20. Because if you pin them inside that 5-yard line, they will run a 99-yard halfback dive to the end zone. Like, they will not give a fuck. They do not want to get safety so bad that they will run up the gut for 99 yards, and they will tell you to go fuck yourself. When they want something, they are going to take it. If they want a fucking score, they're going to go take it. If they want to make the game closer, they're going to go do it. You know, if they had 7 seconds to go 50 yards to get into field goal range, they're going to hit a 50-yard fucking pass completion in 6 seconds to get inside that field goal range. It's so fucking annoying just how bad all Madden is this year. We've talked about it in the past where sometimes it feels like all Madden predetermines if you're going to win or lose a game. It's super bad this year. I don't know why all Madden is so bad this year. Like, there's some games where they're letting me complete every single pass and I'm making good reads and everything's going the correct way, and then in the fourth quarter they decide, you know what, we're actually going to make this a close game. Or the next game they're going to go, now you're not going to complete any of your passes. Have fun, bitch boy. I'm picking you off 4 times in the first quarter. It's so crazy, the level of all Madden cheats that just continues to go on. And like I said, when I have to purposely change sliders just to make it a good game, because, you know, I'm playing a bad team, then I'm playing a good team, then I'm playing a team at my level, then I'm playing another good team. You know, it's so fucking annoying having to go in and constantly change those sliders and be able to move them just to have a semi-good game. The sim engine needs a complete overhaul. I know it's gotten better with the updates. I know somebody had like a spreadsheet, and it has gotten better and more realistic. It's gotten closer to the realistic approach. And, you know, some of the in real life stats and stuff like that. But rushing QBs, I don't think still get enough rushes / rush yards. Only 3 down backs, so guys that are both power backs, receiving backs, and the elusive backs ever really get any kind of success in the sim engine, which just isn't correct in real life. You know, you have guys like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry who have had some of the best seasons in recent memory, and they're not any type of third down back. They get taken off the field when it's a long third down and they need a pass play. So the fact that 3 down backs are really the only kind of backs that have any type of success in the sim is kind of fucking annoying. Slot receivers progress way too fast. Like I said, they get force-fed the ball in Madden Sim, which is just really fucking annoying. So guys like Rashid Rice after 2 seasons are 99 overalls. It's just really annoying when slot receivers, you know, go off for 110 catches, you know, 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns every single season because they're in slot and not because they're an actual good receiver. It's just really fucking annoying. Like I said, I would like to see slot receiver become its own individualistic position. That way, it can maybe regress some of these slot receivers down a little bit to where when you put them at the number 1 overall receiver spot, you will have to upgrade them and get them going in that position if you want them to succeed even more. Of course, like I said, I just want slot receivers not to be getting the max amount of attention that they get. Sacks for top end guys are often too high, and sacks for other edge rushers aren't high enough. I think, you know, I'm tired of seeing Max Crosby break the NFL record within 2 seasons. I'm tired of seeing, you know, the sack record being broken every year for the first 5 seasons that I'm making a franchise. Like I said, in my Titans franchise last year, Max Crosby went to tie the record, break the record, break the record, break the record, break the record. For 4 straight seasons, he broke the record for sacks. He went 22.5, 24, 27.5, 30, 33. Like, what the fuck is going on with that shit? Like, that should not happen. And then, like I said, sacks for the end of, you know, rotational ends and not the top end guys need to be higher. My edge rusher that's an 81 overall shouldn't only be getting 2.5 sacks in a season. Now, yes, there can be that every now and then, but I don't think it should happen every single year just because I'm not controlling them. If my edge rusher, who is an 81 overall as the edge rusher specialist, if my 81 overall player, who is an 81 overall at the edge rusher specialist position, he should be getting more than 2.5 sacks, right? I definitely think that should be the case. I saw Max Crosby put up 33 sacks in a 17-game season. That's kind of fucking crazy, to be fair. Awards like Offense Player of the Year should go to the best non-quarterback. That would be the easiest fix for them, I think. just because I'm tired of seeing the MVP win Offensive Player of the Year as well and not giving those development traits to other guys that deserve it, right? If I have a running back that does really good, I shouldn't have to worry about whether or not the MVP is going to get Offensive Player of the Year as well. Defensive Player of the Year, I would like to see some type of fix, but there's no real correct answer because shutdown corners don't get the love they deserve, as well as defensive tackles who put up weaker stats but are just as valuable as edge rushers don't get the love they deserve because, of course, like I said, with shutdown corners, they don't really record as many stats as those edge rushers and those pick artist corners. Scenarios just need fixed in a greater variety. I've gotten the same receiver diva one where they want 20 rushes and 100 catches, which makes no fucking sense. Most of these receivers don't even have 20 rushes on their entire career. Why would I feed them the ball? If it would make more sense if they said, hey, I want 100 catches, 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns by the end of the season or some variety of that. That would make a little bit more sense. And especially for guys that just don't make sense, right? DJ Moore, yes, I know in real life he's shown a little bit more emotion on the sideline these last 2 weeks. And he kind of seems over a lot of the shit that's going on in Chicago right now. But he just re-signed on a 4-year deal. He still has 2 years left on his normal deal. He has 6 years left. There's no way he'd be asking out of Chicago. There's no way Chicago would be honestly giving that up as well. You have a guy under contract for 6 years. That'd be 6 years of dead cap that you would have if you ended up trading him. I've seen ones where in my Bears franchise, Montez Sweat, at the beginning of the season, I traded for Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants. He came in, I moved him to edge, and that's who they decided that was going to fucking compete against Montez Sweat for the starting position. And everybody had regressed morale because I said there would be no competition between a 72 and an 84. And there was just so many other positions on my team that would have made more sense. Corner between Kyle Gordon and Tyreek Stevenson, who's going to be starting on the outside. Tight end, Gerald Everett versus Cole Kmet. Offensive line, you could have done Coleman Shelton versus Ryan Bates. But no, they want to do something dumb as stupid as shit. And then, the positions that don't record a whole ton of stats, offensive line, defensive tackle, stuff like that, had those negative morale boosts all fucking season. So they were playing at a lesser rate, which is really dumb, because if I don't allow a position battle, other positions fucking regress because I didn't allow a position battle, which makes no fucking sense, right? I just don't understand how that could be a thing. I think overall needs to play a big factor in that. I think some of the scenarios make no sense. The charity one between the two defensive tackles makes no sense. I'll pick a certain player and he'll still say that I didn't show up to his. It's fucking ridiculous. It really is. Free agency still sucks a massive fucking load. Team needs suck. It never takes into account of a young player at a position. They'll just say he's not a high enough overall, and they'll go look for a different guy. Quarterback's probably one of the biggest ones, as well as I shouldn't see a player being signed that doesn't fit a scheme, right? If a 3-4 player, I don't think should be signing with a 4-3 team. I don't think a 3-4-3 player should be signing with a 3-4 team. Defense tackle, nose tackle are a little bit different, and especially if you fix positional stuff, right? If you go to that more streamlined positional thing that we were talking about earlier, I think that would fix a lot of this stuff right here, but it would still need some tweaking and stuff like that, but it should be in a better spot if you go to that positional system more than the system we have currently. Players not being signed because there is a higher overall on the board. I've seen it multiple times where, 2 receivers are on the board. One's a 26-year-old at 83 overall. One's a 25-year-old at 80 overall. All the teams are going to go after the 83 overall, and then once that dude is signed, they're all going to move down to the 80 overall. I think teams should just go after players that fit their scheme a little bit more or fit their interests a little bit more. I think there should be more wealth spread across the board instead of just every time a new player signs, they just slowly move down the board to the next greatest overall or next player worth signing. Backups are not valued at all. Running backs, tight ends for years now have not been valued. I'm tired of seeing guys that are high overall backups that are there because they run those type of schemes being traded within a season or two because, of course, they don't think they need them. I think it's really dumb and a stupid way to look at things. Player free agency motivations sometimes make no sense. I think the biggest one I saw on Reddit one time was Aiden Hutchinson wanted to play close to home, but didn't want to play in a cold weather state, so he didn't want to play in Michigan, but he's from Michigan or something of that nature. So it was like, okay, those two motivations make no sense. Why would they be going against each other? Sometimes when these are auto-assigned, they're kind of fucking stupid. I don't think it would be that hard, especially for some of the top guys. I don't think you'd have to go get everybody's free agency motivation, maybe just guys that are currently on teams, some of the higher overall guys. I think those guys, you should go get correct. I don't think it would take very long to get those guys' interests done if you wanted to ask them in real life. If you didn't want to, I don't think it would be that hard to actually assign a lot of the free agency motivations. You can look at their past. Are they team loyal? Do they like being in a situation where they're going to win? Do they like are they going to teams that don't have taxes? Are they staying close to home? Stuff like that. I think a lot of that, would be a lot very easy to figure out, in my opinion. So I don't think we should see anything like that, where it's like Aiden Hutchinson wants to play close to home, but doesn't want to play in a cold weather state. Like, it just makes no sense, to be fair. Player traits mean nothing. I think they need to be more involved. I think there needs improvement. I would like to see something like badges in 2K and tendencies. I think this would be a big upgrade for players. I'm just going to go over a couple here that I kind of created for corners, basically. I would add one that's like, do they like playing downhill? Basically stepping up and playing in the run. This would be very good for aggressive corners, guys that like to tackle, guys that are actually going to go make a play in the run, hard hitters, stuff like that. I think that would be a big improvement to determine whether or not your corner is going to kind of back off and just kind of play its area and, hold their block and hopefully keep the ball inside the numbers and stuff. Or are they a guy that's going to come down and try to make that play? Special teams ace, like I said, something I kind of forgot to mention with the backups. I kind of do wish there was special teams, overalls and stuff. Not necessarily overalls, but I feel like some players should be more greatly valued on special teams. I don't think you should just be able to sign the best overalls and call it a day. I think I would like to see something for special teams, but that's something like kind of very unique, and I think a lot of players, especially a lot of casual Madden franchise players, I don't think would absolutely love. But special teams ace, guys that are good gunners, stuff like that, I would love to see if they had a tendency or a badge for that. Do they hold penalty heavy, stuff like that? So like a penalty heavy corner, you're going to see play some tighter coverage and man sometimes, but he's going to get the flag thrown on him a little bit more as well. Some of these could be superstar abilities as well, but would like to move towards the college football superstar abilities more than anything. I think I like theirs a lot more. The fact that they're not triggering all the time, the fact that they work pretty well, but they're not working every single fucking play is very good. Some examples for like the wide receiver position would be late hands. That could be another one where it would be more of an ability rather than a tendency. Guys that can flash their hands late, get their hands on the ball, not really give the corners a heads up of when the ball is actually going to get there. I think is a very good ability in real life, and I think a lot of people would like to see. Another one, special teams ace or gunner, whether or not they're a return man, yards after catch. Are they a guy that succeeds in making players miss and be able to get those extra couple yards after they receive the ball? Guys that could create separation could be a tendency or badge. Guys that when they break out of their route, they're going to get a little bit of a boost, stick them. Guys that have very solid hands. Once they get their hands on the ball, it's more than likely not coming out. Bully, a strong guy, guy that likes to block in the run game. Guys that are known for blocking. I would like to see some of this. I would like to see the college football route, because then we could have guys that maybe aren't superstar receivers, but they're good run blockers, be able to have, a superstar ability and be able to play a little bit better. Trades, I think we should get 2 more trade spots, get us to 8 and 4 years worth of draft picks. I think that would really make the trades even more sound. And then I think you should maybe be able to do 4 players and 4 draft picks, or 8 draft picks in total. Player movement needs to be less frequent. I don't think trade blocks should be as active as it is. Like I said, this should. And of course, if you go back and fix the backups not being valued, I think that would fix a lot of stuff, right? Your backup QB should be valued. Your backup running back should be valued. Your backup tight end should be valued. Your swing tackle should be valued. A lot of the backups that should be valued in this league aren't being valued on Madden because of overalls and stuff. I think if you fix that, I think you'll fix this, and then player movement will be less frequent on the trade block as much. Picks need to be more involved. Not enough early round picks are being traded. I think teams should be willing to trade up, and that kind of goes into my next one, which is the draft as a whole. I think higher overall picks should be, early round picks should be traded a lot more. I think if there's a QB needy team that's maybe in the 8 to 12 range, should be able to trade up to that number 1 pick and go take that quarterback. I don't think that quarterback should just fall down the board and into their lap. I think it would make much more sense if trades happen more frequently at the early part of the draft. Team needs, like I said, teams need to trade up. I think that's just a major thing. I don't see enough teams trading up besides the times that they trade up with you. Draft logic needs major improvements. I shouldn't see teams that have mid 80 overall quarterbacks drafting a quarterback in the first and second round. This actually happened last year in my Titans franchise. The Jaguars had Trevor Lawrence in the high 80s, mid to high 80s, and he had just re-signed like a 5-year deal, and he wasn't old either. And then they go and draft a quarterback in both the first and the second round. It makes no sense because it's going based off of when players should go and not actually the team's needs as much as they should. I think that's really fucking stupid. I've seen one time in a Bears franchise I was doing where the Lions were picking at pick number 4. They drafted a tackle, but the tackle was a low overall. He was like a 71, 72. And because they had Taylor Decker, because they had Penei Sewell, because they signed somebody in free agency, he was like the odd man out, and they released him. They released a first-round pick before the season had even ended. After the preseason, basically. Well, during the preseason, basically. I think best player available should be a lot more frequent. I think, team needs to play a factor, but not the biggest factor. I think players going at certain picks because that's where the overall scheme values them. The overall Madden values them. I think that needs to be a bit overhauled. I think, like I said, best players / fit should be more of a priority, and then of course different GMs and coaches should have different priorities, right? San Fran, I should never see drafting a high running back in the high over early rounds because they can find value at those later rounds. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with Jordan Mason. We've seen it with all these different guys. I think stuff like that should happen as well. Teams should trade up whenever or wherever they need to get to, especially if they have a player that they need, a good player at a position of need. I think they should be able to go up and get it. That just goes back to the whole teams need to start trading up more. Positional versus overall value should be labeled in the reach / good pick screen, right? I've seen punters get A+ grades, and I've seen quarterbacks that go in the second, third round that are 70 overalls get bad picks because they're a low overall and they're going way before their overall value says they should. I think positional value needs a lot more improvements. Like I said, if you pick a player at a need that isn't a good overall, but they fit your scheme and can develop, I think they should be valued a little bit more than just an overall good guy, right? Teams don't have a whole ton of fullbacks. Fullback should be, just because this fullback is a 75 doesn't mean he should be rated as a good pick right off the bat. And look, I know positional value for a lot of people is subjective, right? It just depends on what you like to run as well. And I'd go back to like the GMs and coaches' decisions, right? Positional value should be based upon just an overall board. But then again, teams should be taking players who they think they're going to need and can develop, as well as just best overall sometimes, and trying to fit them into their, team as well. Dev traits. This is here because it's most related to draft picks and everything. I think all draft picks should have hidden dev traits, whether they're normal, star, superstar, or X factor. I think all draft picks should have hidden dev traits. That way, it makes you work to actually unlock those guys' dev traits. Of course, once you get through a certain part of the season, depending on how much time you're putting into developing those guys, it would definitely come out, and you'd definitely be able to tell what dev trait they would have probably halfway through the season, just based upon how many levels they're going up and at which rate. But I would introduce some new dev traits as well. I think, I'm going to put new dev traits in quotation. right? But I'd add 2 different dev traits. And I have something kind of fun at the end here. I would add slow and bust. Basically, slow would be given to good college players, but they're lazy. You know, we've seen it in the past. Good college players come in the league. They don't really want to work. They're not really going to be those guys that put in the effort, put in the time, because they think that they're just going to be the best players. You know, we've seen it time and time again with good college players that don't really want to work, don't want to put in the effort, don't want to put in the time and dedication to do things, don't take care of their bodies, don't, you know, it could be a variety of things, doesn't take care of their body, doesn't watch film, doesn't prepare, doesn't lift weights, all types of stuff. This could be given to good college players or just about anybody. Slow dev trait would be worse than normal. They wouldn't get a whole ton of XP. Bust players, those guys would be the ones that are hyped up. Maybe it's because they just won't produce at the next level. Maybe it's the physical freaks with all the tools but can't put it together, right? The physical freaks that we see time and time again, that rise in the boards because they are physical freaks and they can, you know, make all these plays, and if you can develop them, they're going to be the greatest players of all time, and they don't work out. Those guys could be given bust. Basically what that would mean is that they can't really earn XP. They'll earn XP, but at such a level in which they can't really develop through a season. These aren't real players, so this isn't meant to be rude, right? We don't have access to the college players coming into Madden. Most draft classes are auto-generated. A lot of people use auto-generated draft classes for the most part. So these aren't real players, so it wouldn't be mean or rude to do this. It would just be kind of fun. It would give more dev traits a more meaningful opportunity, of course. Of course, if we move to the college football system, it would become a lot easier as well. Being able to have those and not worry about, of course, abilities, because everybody would be able to still have abilities and such. Like I said, this would just create even more dev traits, even more disparity between drafting a normal player versus drafting a slow or a bust. You could go after a physical freak, but there is the chance that he could be a bust player and won't work out. Now, this is the last thing I have on dev traits. Dev traits can change more frequently. Dev traits can change more frequently and at a higher rate. If you're starting a player that has a good dev trait, his dev trait can go up just based off of you starting him, because you're wanting to develop him. Other players, if you are not starting them, can drop from star to normal more frequently, because you are not starting them, because they are not being played, they are not having the time on the field to develop, because in practice they would also not be getting the reps. Now, of course, if you go in and specifically change your practice reps, that could also influence dev traits. Now, I'm not saying dev traits will change every week or depending on who you're starting at that very moment, but it could change throughout the season just based upon little things, right? If your superstar X Factor player is having a down year, maybe he drops down to superstar halfway through the season, and then if you have a good second half of the season, he can maybe go back up, so on and so forth, right? A player that's playing is going to be more valuable than a player that isn't playing. The guys that are getting the reps are going to have a greater chance at being those star players. I don't have like a number one overall way to have this happen, but this could be a cool way to implement a lot more stuff, and it would get a lot more player movement involved, as well as just players being able to develop throughout the season, as well as, you know, if you're having a breakout candidate player, you know, if you're a receiver, you know, if your rookie or second-year receiver is having a breakout fucking year like a Nico Collins, you know, I know Nico Collins in his third year, if you're having a breakout fucking year and you're going to continue to develop and having a very good year, you can rise from normal to star to even maybe superstar within a given year and make it a very fun time. And then, of course, if you have, you know, those still scenarios where, you know, you can kind of progress your players even more, I think that would be an even bigger player movement on draft board should be a lot larger. We've seen guys start off the college season as first-round projected prospects and fall all the way to the undrafted pool, and guys that started off as undraftable players move all the way up to the first or second round of draft boards. Players get injured. If players get injured in their senior season, or they just have a bad season, doesn't have to be slow development trait players. Or they could just be unfortunate. They could have, you know, the slow development. They could just be unfortunate players. Players can rise as well, but that could be where a lot of slow and bust dev traits come from. Is players rising based off of their physical, you know, stature, or just based off their play for that one season. Players should also raise and fall a lot based upon combine. You know, we've seen it in the past. Players jump from a 3rd round prospect all the way up to the 1st round just because they tested really well at the combine. Something that I don't think I see anymore in Madden is the player skipping the combine thing. I think ever since like Madden 22 or so, I don't think I've ever seen somebody skip the combine anymore. Maybe we don't get this back because it does put a bad light on the NFL. And I would assume the reason why it was probably taken out was because Roger Goodell probably didn't want it in there. But maybe we get some type of revamped version where players don't compete in either all the testing things, or they don't do it for a variety of reasons. You know, they test in some things but not others, based on injury rating. Wants to hide a rating. You know, if a slower player doesn't want to run the 40, so that you can't tell whether or not he's just a slow player or not. You know, or doesn't want their draft position to really change. They're at a level where they want that to stay, or any others you can really make up. I think that'd be a pretty cool thing, so that everybody doesn't have combine scores or combine testing. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think we need an interview option at the combine as well. I think maybe you get 5 interviews, and if you ask the right questions, maybe reveal some of the traits that we talked about, as well as if you ask all the right questions, maybe, just maybe, it will show you their dev trait. Like if you push all the right buttons, right, you find out they're not really a hard worker. You know, they like being at home, they like streaming, they, you know, just a variety of different questions that can really determine what their dev trait is. Maybe at the end we'll be like, oh hey, this player, by the way, has slow development. It would kind of maybe push you off of them and not want to make you draft them. Like I said, make it limited, but be available. I think it would be kind of cool to be able to do this type of stuff. I know it'd kind of get repetitive after a couple seasons, but I think it would be a fun little option for a lot of us die-hard and try-hard franchise users. I think it'd be very fun. So like if you interview a corner and figure out he is a team player, and if he likes playing the run, does he play the ball or the man, all types of things. And if you push his buttons just correct, you can find out whether or not he's a slow, star, superstar, normal, dev player, but he doesn't like, you know, watching game film or something like that. I think that'd be a fun way to make the draft part of franchise even more fun, as well as the off season. Players on the draft board can go back to school if they drop too low or have eligibility left. They can head back to school before the off season. I think so. It'd be like up to the Super Bowl week. Once the Super Bowl week passes, maybe there'd be something in the news, you know, being like, hey, this player actually decided to return to school because his draft profile wasn't high enough. He will return next season. You can look out for him. And if that does happen and you already have that guy scouted, maybe you can get a head start on the scouting for him next year. Of course, his ratings will change going into the next season, and he'll probably be a higher overall more than likely, but you will get a little bit of a boost in scouting him the next year. I think that would be pretty cool. I know MLB was supposedly introduce this, right? If a player doesn't get drafted, you can possibly see them in the next year at a different level of skill. I think that would be very cool. Not a frequent thing, just something that could happen. You know, maybe a player that was a second-round pick fell to the 3rd, realizes he doesn't really want to go in the 3rd, wants to be a first-round pick. He'll head back to school for a year, and hopefully you'll see him in the 1st round of the next year. Like I said, not anything too frequent, just something that maybe could happen from year to year. If they do go back to school, you retain some of the scouting that you had on them, or you could have a head start on them going into the next year. Scouting needs help. I shouldn't have to basically take flyers on half the players. In real life, you basically know most of these players' strengths and weaknesses of almost every player at most of the positions that you're going to be looking at to take. I don't understand why a lot of positions just go basically unscouted. It's kind of fucking annoying. I know it's gotten a little bit better this year, but still, it doesn't feel quite 100%. I shouldn't only know about just, you know, a handful of positions. I should know about the majority of the positions that I'll probably be looking at. You know, and it's kind of annoying that we have to set our scouts at the beginning of the season, because it's like, well, what if a player retires? What if you decide to let a player go? What if you trade a player off? What if you trade for a player during the season because you think you can make a Super Bowl run? You know, all these different things, and then, you know, you don't need those positions scouted anymore, and now you're stuck with having to take flyers at other positions. It's kind of annoying. Something with the auto-generated classes that I would like to be fixed, I would like to see the schooling fixed, right? I think too many times I've seen, you know, 3 QBs come from the same school in like the same year. I've seen 4 young guards that have eligibility left that are 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, that are expected to go undrafted all going into the draft. All those guys wouldn't leave college, especially if some of them do have eligibility. I would like to see them return or just have the schooling fixed. I think that would be an even bigger thing. Basically make it to where there can only be one player at each position. I think would be the easiest fix, of course. And that's something you could implement in the auto generation, is just basically putting in a rule saying, hey, there can only be one player at each position from the same school. I know it would kind of be dumb, somewhat dumb. At positions like receiver and stuff like that, maybe even halfback and corner and safety, I think you could definitely put in an exception being like, hey, max of 3. But I think at most positions, I think you should be able to go in and basically say, especially at positions like quarterback and tight end and stuff, I think you should go in and put in a rule basically saying, hey, there can only be one player from each school. I think that would be able to fix a lot of the auto-generation schooling stuff. Something small, just an annoying factor, especially if you like somebody. I think making connections through the draft, picking players based off of familiarity and chemistry, taking a wide receiver in the 6th round over another wide receiver that you like because he went to school with your QB or something of that nature, I think should give you a boost. But then again, that would have to introduce a whole different system of chemistry and stuff like that. I think that would be kind of something cool. I did this in my Broncos franchise last year that I was doing. One season I drafted a wide receiver from Iowa. He turned out to be a very good prospect. I brought in a wide receiver from Iowa the next year, and then it kind of opened up this thing where I kind of made this thing where it was like, well, if there's an Iowa wide receiver, I'm able to, maybe get a better vision of what I'm getting. I can go talk to the coaches and understand what type of player I'm getting. I think that would be kind of cool. Stuff like that, I think, would be a very, very cool thing. I think staff building as a whole needs to be fully customizable. I'm not saying we need the real players or the real coaches or anything. I just want it to be more customizable. I would like to see at least offensive, defensive, and special teams coordinators. I would like to see position coaches as well as potentially even a strength coach. This might be a little tedious for some casual players. This could definitely be a setting that could be turned on or off. And each, of course, coach has basically 2 paths worth of skills, helping either the run unit or the pass unit on both sides of the ball, right? Helping the run unit on the offensive side, and then, of course, a defensive coach helping out the run unit on the defensive side of the ball. This can help strengthen your weaknesses or strengthen your strengths. Either way, whatever way you decide to go, it would be able to help you, though. I don't think you should make it super overpowered like it is currently, where you're getting like +5 to fucking run blocking and +5 to catching traffic. But I think there should be little changes here and there that you should be able to get from these coaches, and you should be able to have full customizable coaches. And the next thing that I'm really going to go over, and this is going to be something that would be, I think, kind of hard to implement, but I think would be pretty cool, is each coordinator has their own schemes, can't be changed by you. If you take over a team, it will basically just be your scheme at first, but then those coaches will slowly adopt your scheme. Will determine how aggressive and what style of team they are, right? And then, of course, when those coordinators leave your team, if they get hired or fired, they will take their scheme with them. Of course, if they get hired to a different team, you might start to see your scheme more implemented around the league and your coaching style as well. And then promoting within schemes has boosts and stuff. This could also go for just other stuff as well. You promote from within, you hire from within, you get more better impacts. Your scheme is more reinforced. Can go on to lead their own team. Once coordinators leave, you can take their schemes with them. A good coach will eventually see similar schemes to them popping up all over the league, and you'll start to see more of a copycat league based upon your style, right? A guy like Andy Reid should see more of an Andy Reid system around the league. The Shanahan tree, all types of stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool to be able to see coordinators leave and kind of have their own twist on your style, but still an overall, it would have your type of style. I think would be pretty cool, right? And then, of course, promoting within would help out your team and kind of strengthen your scheme. Now, and your coordinators would have a better understanding of scheme. If you promote your quarterback coach to your offensive coordinator, you'd have a better understanding of the scheme and what you wanted from him. Playbooks would be tied to coaches as well. Custom playbooks should have custom formation subs. I don't know if this is in the game this year. If it is, my bad. I haven't really fucked around with that a whole ton. I don't really fuck around with custom playbooks because for the previous years, you couldn't have custom formation subs and stuff. And that brings up a whole nother factor. I don't know if anybody else has been running custom formations this year, or whatever. But anytime a player gets injured that you have in a custom formation, they're either no player replaces them, or it fucks your whole formation subs for that formation, and then it's set back to default, which is kind of fucking annoying, right? I've seen it where both DeAndre Swift I had Velus Jones, okay? So I had Velus Jones in a 5-wide set, and I had Keenan Allen in the slot on this formation. And they both got injured, and I ran out 9 guys on the field. 9 guys, because EA didn't want to auto-sub somebody in for me. Creative play needs to return. I think this is one of my favorite features from older Maddens, as well as Head Coach 09. Be able to create plays and see, and they could either be a jumbled mess, or they could actually be fun, unique plays. It was always fun. I always like doing fun, creative stuff like that. I loved Head Coach 09. I spent hours just creating plays for no other reason than it was fun. Playbook knowledge, I think this would be something that I'd like to see return. This was something from Head Coach 09. Would work with both coaches and playbooks. Like I said, if you keep your coaches and your players around, this would help increase the incentive of keeping coaches and even backups around. Both coaches and players would have increases to their ratings or other things based upon traits and how long they've been with the team. So new player can't be traded and signed and run the full playbook week 1. You would have to actually put in the time and effort for them to learn the playbook. I'm not saying anything quite on the level of Head Coach 09. I think that was almost too tedious, but something where, based upon a player being there, as well as a whole ton of other stuff, will determine how much of the playbook they can run at a high successful rate. I don't need anything to the level, like I said, of Head Coach 09, just something to increase player retention and coach retention so that it would help out, a team that gets a brand new head coach. It would take longer for them to get acclimated with their team and be able to run the full playbook and the scheme and everything of that nature. They wouldn't be able to disguise looks as much, and they would have a much more basic level offense the first season. But as teams got rolling, you would be able to have a much deeper and crazier playbook. This kind of turned into a wish list more than a review of Madden 25. This is just some of the stuff that I think is missing and some of the stuff that I think they fixed. It could create a much more fun and dynamic Madden. Now, of course, this isn't everything that I want. This isn't everything that they need to fix. There's a ton of stuff. I think player body types as well are at probably the worst we've seen on new gen or PS5 and Xbox Series. I think this is probably the worst, like I said, body types that we've seen in a long time. I'm surprised there's no game-breaking franchise glitches this year. Like I said, this doesn't include everything. This doesn't include all the gameplay fixes I want. But this is what I want to see. Now, of course, I understand that they can't implement everything. And I understand that I don't have all the answers of how to implement all this shit. But we need something. Fucking having a new screen to be able to see, for scouting and fucking the draft board isn't fucking enough. Having scenarios that don't work isn't fucking enough. Having a new home menu in the franchise isn't fucking enough. I do not understand how this game has regressed to this point. They need to get their shit together. I'm not saying everything that I just stated, everything that I'm stating is correct. I'm just saying some of this shit could be fun additions to Madden. With CFB 25, I found myself playing Madden less than ever this year, so it's kind of crazy not even playing Madden on Sundays. I don't know if I even want to do a franchise on Madden this season. I don't know if I'm going to do any franchises, to be fair, or dynasties or anything. But it's just kind of crazy just how bad Madden is right now and what kind of state it's in. I think this is a little bit better than last year just because of franchise not being a broken mess for the first fucking 4 months. I'm not finding myself playing Madden as much. Like, I've literally spent, I'll literally scroll over on my PlayStation right now. I've literally spent 56 hours playing compared to CFB 25 that I've spent almost 4 times the amount of time playing right now. Just kind of crazy. It really is just how bad Madden is right now. I would much rather play College Football 25. They're actually doing updates and stuff that actually feel like they're going in the correct direction. Now, of course, with the with the NIL and stuff like that. There's some stuff that is limited, but overall, they're doing a much better job. I appreciate them a lot more. But with that being said, guys, if you guys do enjoy this video or any of the videos here on my channel, I would appreciate if you guys do stick around and subscribe. I'm a little sickly, so I do sound a little bit differently, but I wanted to get this video out there. I should have a couple other videos coming out as well that I'm kind of trying to get together and push through. With that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I'll be back with more videos like this. If you guys need roster updates for 2K, go ahead and check those out. I'll be doing 2K25 once 2K25 gets on sale. I'm just not a big, content creator on 2K. I don't feel like spending the money. I'm fine with playing 2K23 still as well. So I'm not super missing out on anything. But like I said, if you guys did enjoy this content, please stick around and subscribe. And I'll be back with more videos like this. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.